What's happening, Manhwa champions? Don't forget to leave your feedback and smash that like button. Now let's dive into this epic tale. On a dimly lit night, beneath the soft glow of a high crescent moon, a beautiful yet solitary house stands quietly. Inside, a gentle cough breaks the silence, echoing faintly through the halls. In a modestly furnished room illuminated only by a flickering candle, two men sit across from each other, separated by a humble wooden table. Two cups rest silently upon it. Murmurs one man, his voice deep and weathered. I've waited decades, and yet you offer only one cup. You truly are cold-hearted. The speaker, an elderly man named Great Regression, gently strokes his long snow-white beard as years of hardship and wisdom mark his tired face. Across from him sits another man, clad in a warm blue robe. His silver hair, equally long but disheveled, partially obscures his eyes. Silently, he stares down at the lone cup before him. Ryongja leans forward, carefully pouring wine into his friend's cup, breaking their silence. Come to think of it, Ryongja continues softly, pouring himself another cup. When we first met, we were both young men full of ambition. How quickly the time has passed. Their eyes meet, sharing a silent, heavy gaze. The friend, bearing a distinct scar across his eye, looks deeply troubled as memories flood his thoughts. Ryongja, narrating with a reflective voice, adds quietly, "It was about 40 years ago when I first encountered this man." Suddenly, a younger version of the silver-haired man strides into a hall, clutching a sword firmly in his grasp. Ryongja's younger self turns, facing him directly, announcing, "The Great Regression Technique, a legendary achievement of the Gui family, a method studied and passed down through generations, nearly impossible to master. I have finally completed it." Images of a vast library, shelves overflowing with countless ancient texts, flash by. Ryongja, sitting among these treasures, initially smiles triumphantly at his breakthrough, only to later slam books down in frustration, crumpling pages in despair. 5 materials are needed, Ryongja says gravely, listing each with precision. The Thunder Bell, sacred artifact of the Heavenly Wind Cult. A majestic silver bell etched with mysterious symbols appears. The Divine Incense Brazier, treasured artifact of the Divine Dragon family. An ornate golden cauldron adorned with a mighty dragon glimmers vividly. The KOI essence of the 10,000-year carp. A vibrant golden blue carp gracefully swims beneath tranquil waters. The secret demonic soul of the demonic cult. An ominous pill radiating dark, pulsating energy comes into view. And finally, 5 million nyang, Ryongja concludes, shaking his head. I managed only the money. Everything else was beyond my reach. Yet you, my friend, acquired it all over decades, even vanishing mysteriously to procure the elusive secret demonic soul. Returning to the present, Ryongja stares into his wineglass, his own aged reflection distorted by ripples of wine. It's hard to believe, he mutters, astonished. How on earth did you obtain all those impossible materials? Without hesitation, the silver-haired man drains his cup in one decisive gulp. I despise that accursed technique for its absurd demands. I even thought about simply killing you, he admits bluntly. Ryongja remains composed, quietly sipping from his own cup, his expression unreadable. Internally, the silver-haired man reflects deeply. When we first met, we were both young, and now his hair is entirely white. The very AIR around him has changed drastically. Was such drastic transformation inevitable just to obtain these cursed materials? Breaking the intense silence, Ryongja finally asks, I've wanted to ask you for a long time now. Why exactly are you so desperate to return to the past? Suddenly, with shocking ferocity, the silver-haired man slams his cup down onto the table. Eyes blazing red with fury, he growls fiercely. For revenge! Ryongja recoils slightly, sweat trickling down his forehead as he cautiously questions further. Were your skills truly insufficient for revenge? Was regression your only option? Yes, comes the stern reply, laced with bitter resolve. Then who exactly do you hate so deeply? Ryongja whispers anxiously, dread coloring his voice. The silver-haired man leans forward, eyes burning intensely, uttering a single name, Hua Mugi. Absolute terror grips Ryongja's face. His eyes widen dramatically, sweat now dripping freely down his pale skin. Memories flash vividly before him. The Murim Alliance leader, dead, his lifeless body sprawled on the ground. The Unorthodox Alliance leader, slain, multiple swords buried deep into his corpse. The heavenly demon, pierced by 3 blades, slumped defeated upon his grand throne. The strongest martial artist across all history. We see an ominous figure towering atop an immense mound made from hundreds of thousands of bodies, each pierced gruesomely by swords. This figure, shrouded in darkness, radiates overwhelming menace, clearly the strongest warrior of this era, Hwa Mugi. Snapping back to reality, the old man nervously protests, sweat dripping heavily down his brow. Even if you regress to the past, you can't possibly defeat him. Even so, the silver-haired man responds with fiery determination, his eyes glinting with fierce resolve. I must kill him, no matter the cost. The old man's eyes widen in shock as the silver-haired man reveals coldly, the heavenly demon he killed was my father. A chilling silence fills the room before he continues bitterly. But I'm not seeking revenge simply because he killed my father or even my deceitful snake of a brother. Their deaths aren't unusual for people who've surrendered their lives to demonic paths. Then why, the old man interjects, perplexed and anxious. Because, the silver-haired man says, dark smoke seeping ominously from his body, on that day, Hwa Mugi massacred innocent servants, cooks, and even children who knew nothing of martial arts. Horrific visions emerge. Lifeless bodies of innocent servants and children sprawled tragically across blood-soaked floors, their pets lying motionless beside them. Hwa Mugi would never, the old man begins, disbelief etched on his face. It doesn't matter whether you believe me or not, the silver-haired man interrupts sharply. In this lifetime, I won't be able to kill him. That's why I must return to the past. And when I face him again, I will demand to know why someone as powerful as him felt the need to slaughter even the helpless. Silence falls heavily once more. Eventually, the old man softly breaks it. If the Great Regression Technique truly succeeds and you return to the past, can you do me a favor? What is it? The silver-haired man asks curiously. Come find me, the old man implores passionately, and stop me from getting married. Confusion briefly crosses the silver-haired man's face before laughter escapes him, but the old man remains serious, urging earnestly, I mean it. Tell me to remain alone forever. Finally, the silver-haired man smiles slightly, conceding, all right, I promise. They rise together, the silver-haired man swaying unsteadily. The old man rushes forward in concern. Are you all right? I'll manage, he replies weakly. Losing one arm and an eye was a small price for obtaining the secret demonic soul. They enter another room where the sacred treasures lie. The old man carefully picks up a small ornate box, opening it reverently to reveal a dark, sinister bead pulsing with immense foreboding power, the demonic soul. The old man carefully arranges the treasures together, clasps his hands solemnly, and begins chanting deeply. The artifacts resonate, each vibrating with escalating intensity. Golden inscriptions swirl throughout the room, intertwining with a powerful blue aura emanating from the old man. Suddenly, a dazzling burst of majestic light floods the chamber, followed by powerful winds that whip through the space violently. As the brilliance fades, reality itself seems to crack, giving birth to a red-purple golden portal swirling ominously in midair. I did it, the old man exclaims, eyes wide and filled with ecstatic disbelief. He spins to his friend in joyous triumph. Do you see this? I told you, I did it! But his jubilant expression quickly fades as he notices his companion, slumped heavily against a pillar, breathing labored and pained. The silver-haired man remains silent, eyes filled with exhaustion and sorrow. I'm sorry, the old man whispers, his voice trembling with guilt and sadness. Stepping toward the swirling abyss, he turns briefly, promising sincerely, I swear I'll find you and warn you about the coming disaster. The silver-haired man sits quietly, tattered robes hanging loosely, his strength depleted, as the old man bravely steps forward into the dark, mysterious portal that awaits him. Moving steadily towards the swirling portal, the old man's voice trembles with emotion. It's my family's greatest wish to return to the past. It's my wish, too. Suddenly, his expression shifts to pure fear as sweat trickles down his forehead. He freezes abruptly, eyes wide in shock. I can't move. My demonic acupoints have been sealed, he realizes in panic, slowly forcing his trembling head around. Behind him, 4 golden points glow intensely on his back. Gui Ryongja, mutters the silver-haired man, now standing ominously behind him, his face twisted in anger. How could you do this? Hey, Ryongja manages weakly, his entire body shivering in fear. Without warning, the silver-haired man appears directly beside him, fury evident in his gaze. Of all people, he seethes, gripping Ryongja's throat and slamming him forcefully to the ground. Bam! Pain jolts through Ryongja's body as he crashes onto the hard floor. Looking up pleadingly, he gasps. I lost myself for a brief moment. I'm truly sorry. Tears well in his eyes as he chokes out the words. I know the pain you've endured gathering those materials. I shouldn't have betrayed you. Staring intensely, the silver-haired man's eyes soften slightly as he releases his grip. Ryongja, coughing and clutching his bruised throat, struggles to rise, tears streaming down his aged face. I'm selfish too, the silver-haired man finally admits softly. My whole life I thought only of myself. That's how I could gather everything I needed. He clenches his teeth briefly before continuing. Had it been anyone else, I'd have killed them instantly, but I understand your pain. With surprising gentleness, he places a reassuring hand on Ryongja's trembling shoulder. Gui Ryongja, thank you for waiting your entire life for me. Ryongja's eyes widen in shock, tears flowing freely down his cheeks. I'm really sorry, he whispers, his voice breaking with remorse. Suddenly, the world around them shifts. Everything freezes, drained of color. The silver-haired man looks around in astonishment. Butterflies hover motionlessly in midair, suspended eerily in black and white stillness. What? Everything stopped, he stammers, bewildered. A deep, resonant voice pierces the silence. You have paused all tests. Whirling around, the silver-haired man searches frantically for the voice's source. Above the swirling portal, an elderly figure materializes, adorned in radiant orange and white robes, glowing with a celestial aura. Who are you? The silver-haired man questions sharply. The one who can truly send you back to the past, the mysterious elder calmly replies. Stunned, the silver-haired man exclaims, sweat dripping down his temples. That's impossible. The elder smiles wisely. Mortals cannot fathom the logic of the heavens. Did you truly think mere materials and human rituals could allow time travel? He asks, his long beard shimmering with ethereal light. The true materials needed aren't physical objects, but the immense sacrifices and relentless effort you dedicated to obtaining them. As the elder gracefully waves his hand, the sacred artifacts hover midair, glowing brilliantly. You have passed the test. You lived with singular determination, sacrificing everything, including your forgiveness of Gui Ryongja, the hardest test of all, yet you succeeded effortlessly. If I've truly passed, the silver-haired man urges, robes billowing in a sudden gust of mystical wind, then fulfill my wish. Send me back. What will you do there? The elder probes, gaze sharp and penetrating. I will kill the one who deserves death and save those who deserve life, the silver-haired man states resolutely, teeth gritted. Is that all? The elder presses, eyes glinting with intensity. What else drives you to regress? I want to live meaningfully, shouts the silver-haired man passionately. Perhaps I've been desperate to return because I regret the way I lived, driven by anger at who I became. What exactly do you regret? The elder challenges fiercely, clutching his chest as his own voice grows harsh. Everything, the silver-haired man cries in agony. Since birth, none of my actions were my own. My life was always controlled by outside forces, relentlessly pushed by events beyond my grasp until, before I knew it, my life was over. The elder listens intently to the heartfelt words of the silver-haired man, his stern expression gradually softening into a gentle, knowing smile. I'm curious about the life you'll lead, the elder muses thoughtfully, his voice resonating softly through the air. The silver-haired man stammers, confusion flickering across his face as the elder's figure begins to shimmer and slowly fade into golden particles of light. I eagerly await the new path you shall take, the elder's voice echoes warmly before disappearing completely. As color floods back into the world, time resumes. The heartfelt apology of Gui Ryungja rings clearly once more. I'm really sorry. The silver-haired man slowly turns toward his lifelong friend, silent yet deeply understanding. I know it's shameless to remind you, Ryungja says earnestly, but please remember your promise. Stop me from getting married. With quiet resolution, the silver-haired man nods slightly, turning towards the shimmering, swirling portal. His robes and silver hair flutter gently in the mystical wind as he calmly says, "Stay well." "Hey, remember what I told you!" Ryungja urgently calls after him, his voice filled with both hope and fear, just as the silver-haired man steps confidently into the portal's dazzling white and golden brilliance. Suddenly, a new scene unfolds. A young man with striking black hair snaps open his eyes, breathing heavily as he stands atop an expansive arena platform. Around him, a roaring crowd erupts into cheers, hundreds of excited spectators waving swords and shouting passionately. Clad in pristine blue robes, the young man grips his sword tightly, gazing upward at an imposing stone statue resembling a deity, its arms solemnly crossed. Emotion fills his voice as he murmurs incredulously, I really came back to the past." This young warrior, the regressed form of the once silver-haired man, now youthful and strong with both arms intact, is momentarily overwhelmed by realization. But his reverie is quickly shattered as an intense, ominous energy suddenly floods his senses, causing him to stagger backward, sweat streaming down his brow. Across the grand arena, atop a sinister throne, sits an imposing figure cloaked in luxurious red, white, and black robes. Flanking him stand 8 formidable warriors, 4 on each side. The intense gaze of this intimidating ruler pierces directly through the young man's heart. Father, he thinks, locking eyes silently with the powerful man above him, an emotional storm brewing within. A thunderous voice suddenly booms from the sidelines, breaking his focus. How long will you keep us waiting, second young master? Whirling around, the young man sees a fierce warrior with blazing orange hair, a barbaric presence gripping a massive sword. The blade crashes down onto the arena floor, fracturing the stone beneath it and scattering debris. Let's start this fight, the warrior roars aggressively, the crowd erupting again into wild cheers. I see, the young master whispers calmly, clarity returning to his gaze. Today is the day of the new demon skirmish. His black hair dances freely in the breeze, illuminated by the sun's radiant glow, determination blazing fiercely in his eyes. This marks the dramatic end of Chapter 1, our protagonist having successfully regressed into the past, fully prepared to rewrite his destiny. What thrilling adventures and battles await him next? Find out in the next episode. But before you go, don't forget to tap like if you enjoyed the episode, subscribe for more epic recaps, turn on notifications so you never miss a chapter. And with that being said, Manhwa Champions, we're going to bring this video to an end. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and I will catch you all later. Peace.